Philadelphia Eagles fans, welcome back to the J All Day NFL show. We're about 3 weeks away from the NFL draft. And in today's video, I want to give you the Eagles' top 5 needs as we go into this draft in 2025. As you guys know, we lost a ton of free agents. Milton Williams goes to the Patriots. Josh Sweat goes to the Arizona Cardinals. C.J. Gardner-Johnson gets traded to the Texans. It's been crazy watching this all play out. We did, however, bring back Zack Baun, a deal I loved, absolutely loved. So what I want to do for you guys today is break down these free agents over the next couple of years. Because when you're drafting to build a roster for the long term, we need to look at the next year and the year after, right? There's 4-year and some 5-year contracts on this roster, right? So we got to constantly be replenishing areas of need and areas that are getting, not responsible cost-wise, right? So you can't always buy players. This isn't baseball. We're not the Dodgers, right? We can't just buy an all-star team every single year. That's not the way the NFL works, right? You got to work within the confinement of the salary cap. Howie Roseman is the best in the business at manipulating that salary cap. All right, all my Philadelphia Eagles fans, you know what to do. Smash that like button because it really does help me get into the YouTube algorithm. If you want more Eagles content, more NFL content, more draft coverage, you got to subscribe to the channel. Let's get into today's video. So the first thing I want to do, let's take a look at this depth chart, right? See where we're at. Quarterback, do you want to see the Eagles bring in a veteran in camp? Possibly, right? Because if Hurts goes down, are we going to rely on Tanner McKee and Dorian Thompson-Robinson? It's something we got to think about, right? The running back room, I think we're pretty solid there. Unless there's a situation where there's a player you have so much higher on your draft board than anyone else, maybe in the 4th or 5th round, some of these great running backs slide into that round, possibly. But I'm really curious what A.J. Dillon can do in this offense. Great signing by Howie Roseman. Very similar build to Saquon Barkley, right? I think he could be very useful in this offense. And then wide receiver, right? We got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahad Dotson as the starters right now. Not really the most cost-effective group right now, right? With A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith taking up a lot of the salary cap, right? And if something goes down with A.J. Brown, I just rhymed there. I didn't mean to. All right. Or Devontae Smith. Are we going to be able to rely on Johnny Wilson or Ainias Smith or Jahad Dotson to step up in this offense? I think bringing in a veteran wide receiver might not be a bad idea, or drafting one later in the draft. They drafted 2 guys last year, Ainias Smith and Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson was pretty awful, and Ainias Smith dealt with injuries, but he looked like shit in camp. So bringing in another wide receiver could be interesting. Okay, here's a group, guys. The tight end group. Dallas Goedert, his contract's up at the end of this year. Grant Calcaterra, his contract's up at the end of this year, right? So we got to take that into consideration, obviously, right? And bringing in a tight end at some point in this draft, probably a huge need for the Philadelphia Eagles, in my opinion. Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Kenyon Green, and Lane Johnson are penciled in as the starters. Could Tyler Steen or Trevor Keegan be in play with Kenyon Green for the starter at right guard? Absolutely. It's going to be a battle in camp. Who wins that right guard job? Bringing in some competition, whether it be a center or a guard or a guy who can swing at center and guard, definitely interests me as well. Lane Johnson, he did re-up his contract, right? So he's probably going to be with us. I'm saying probably 2 years, in my opinion, for Lane Johnson, guys. I do like that. Now, moving on to the defense, right? Moro Ojomo is penciled in opposite of Jalen Carter at the DN spots. And then we have Jordan Davis and Byron Young at the nose spots, right? I do want to see some depth added to this room. Losing Milton Williams was a big loss. I mean, there's no other way around it, right, guys? Milton Williams is a great player. That production is not going to be easy to replace. And then Jordan Davis, his contract's up at the end of this year. Are they going to extend him for that 5th-year option because he's a first-round pick? That remains to be seen. But maybe bringing in some beef at the nose and adding some depth at the DN spot. I do think Ojomo can come in and start right away. So Are we going to force a pick in round 1 or 2 if the board doesn't fall our way? I don't think so, right? But then we got Nolan Smith, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean, and Bryce Huff in that linebacker rotation, right? In that 3-4 linebacker rotation. Nakobe Dean's not going to be ready for day 1. Week 1, he will not be ready. And Fangio doesn't really like Bryce Huff. So could we trade him in the draft? I'd be on the phones making some calls for sure. Then we got Quinyon Mitchell at the 1 cornerback spot. Darius Slay is gone. He's with Pittsburgh on a 1-year, $10 million deal. Who's going to start at safety? Is it going to be Tristan McCollum, Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship? He's getting towards the end of his contract as well. Bringing in a safety or 2. Not a bad idea in my opinion, right? And then we got Cooper DeJean who's going to play the nickel spot, right? So that's kind of how the depth chart kind of looks right now. But let's take a look at the free agents, right? See where we're going to be thin at. 3 wide receivers are going to be free agents this year, right? Elijah Cooks, Danny Gray, Jahan Dotson. And then look at all these tight ends that are all on expiring contracts, man, at the end of 2025. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys. Not all these guys are going to make the team, obviously, right? But, like, they're all not in the picture going forward, right? Dallas Goedert, 31. He'll be 32 at the end of this year, right? So are they going to re-up a 32-year-old tight end? I doubt it. Maybe he comes back on a 2-year deal potentially. But Jalen Hurts really likes the tight end spot, right? So let's take that into consideration when we're looking at these needs for us in the draft in 2025. A lot of safeties, including Reed Blankenship, who's an unrestricted free agent. Safety, big area of need for sure. A lot of outside linebackers. Uche, Mathis, Johnson, Ojolari. I do like bringing him in. Inside linebacker, Gant, Van Stormen. Nakobe Dean contract up at the end of this year. And then some guards. Green, Toth, and Kennard. Some depth guys. And DN, some depth guys in Henry, Booker, and Hall. They're up. A lot of corners as well, guys. We got to get some corners at some point in this draft. Woods, Ricks, McCollum, Castro Fields, and Nickerson all up after this year. And Cam Jurgens, the center. Drafting a center, definitely a possibility in these later rounds, right? Now on your screen, Eagles fans, is players that contracts are up not after this season, but the season after as we go into 2027 and wrap up the 2026 season. Okay, Lane Johnson. He will be an old man by the time his contract's up. We'll see if he still wants to keep playing. Bryce Huff will finally be out from under that horrible deal. Jalen Carter has a club option. Nolan Smith also has a club option for sure. Jordan Davis, they could decline the option in the previous calendar year, but if they do not and they pick up that option, he will be an unrestricted free agent at the end of that season. Okay, Kenyon Green, Jahad Dotson, Tyler Steen, Sidney Brown, Byron Young, Ringo, Thompson Robinson, McKee, and Ajomo, all free agents at the end of not this season, but next season. So when I made this list of the top 5 needs going into the 2025 draft, I took all these things into consideration. Let's get into the list. All right, Bird Gang, here are the starters in this current depth chart, right? When I broke down my list, I had some honorable mentions. And to me, coming in at number 6, the honorable mentions are offensive line and wide receiver. 2 really good units, but you could always use depth at these positions. If something goes down with A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, the Eagles don't have a lot of reliable pass catchers beyond those 2 guys, in my opinion. So, if the board falls the right way in round 3 or 4, and there's some guy that you really love, you got to think about taking him. Next is the offensive line, right? Lane Johnson, is he going to retire after this year or next year? That remains to be seen, but thinking about who comes next has to be on the mind of Howie Roseman and his team. Cam Jurgens, his deal's coming up too. Are you going to pay all of these offensive linemen? That's just not really a feasible thing to do, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles drafted a center at some point in this draft to maybe take over for Jurgens going forward. They're paying Mulatto a lot of money. They're paying Dickerson a lot of money. Obviously, they're paying Lane Johnson a lot of money, right? So potentially we need a guy to fill in at center and right guard. Guys that are cap-friendly guys. So, my honorable mentions, guys. Number 6, offensive line and wide receiver. That's kind of a combo pick. All right, here's my top 5 needs, guys. Number 5, in my opinion, is cornerback, right? Right now, we have Adoree Jackson, who came over from the Giants. Very good run defender, not the best in pass coverage. Cooper DeJean, I want to keep him in the slot because if he's in the slot, he's closer to the line of scrimmage and can really affect the run game, man. He was excellent in the run game, man. Coming up, pursuit, tackle, wrapping up. What he did to Derrick Henry, boom, wrapping him up, slamming him down. That's how you tackle at the NFL level. And Quinyon Mitchell, right? But outside of those guys, if we take a look at the cornerbacks currently on this roster, we got Woods, Ricks, Ringo. Ricks and Ringo, I don't hate those guys. They're decent guys. But are they starter-worthy cornerbacks at the NFL level? You got to like Eli Ricks' length. 6'2", 190 pounds out of Alabama. Got to like that length, right? Now, Ringo, another corner, 23 years old, pretty young, 6'2", 207, and he's pretty fast. They got the length that they like. Can they step up and take that job? That's what you always want to see happen, right? But you still need to bring in depth, in my opinion. Then we got Nickerson and Castro Fields. These 3 guys are going to be the starters probably, right? Mix in Ringo and Ricks. So bringing in another body makes total sense to me. I want to bring in a guy who can play the nickel because Ricks and Ringo are too big, in my opinion, to play the nickel, right? They're both, 6'2", 6'1". That's big, Cooper DeJean is like as big, but Cooper DeJean is 6'1", but he's so freaky athletic, right? So those taller corners are more outside corners, right? So bringing in a corner, whether it's a nickel guy or an outside guy, I think we got to address that position. So coming in at number 5 on my list is cornerback, guys. Cornerback. All right, number 4 on my list is defensive line, right? If we take a look at this base defense, get out of nickel, we'll go to base. This is our 3-4 base defense. Jordan Davis's contract's coming up. He's been decent, not great, right? Was he worthy of the first-round pick? That kind of remains to be seen, especially going at number 13 overall. He's been good. Don't get me wrong. Solid player. But is he round 1, 13th overall selection? I'm not sure. Are they going to pick up that option? That's a big question mark. I think we'll know about that depending on what the Eagles do with their picks, right? And then Ajomo, no real starting experience, but 7th round pick out of Texas, 6'3", 292. I love his size. And he played really, really good. That pass rush grade, I want to see him get better against the run. Under a 60 grade against the run, that's pretty ass. And the coverage grade, he's a down lineman. Don't even look at that grade. But the pass rush grade, exceptionally good. Almost 500 snaps last year. I think he could be a starter. But beyond these guys, we need some depth. Absolutely, right? Let's take a look at the depth of the interior defensive line, right? We got Jordan Davis, Carter, and Ajomo, the starters. And then we got Booker, Hall, Young, and Gant. No, actually, it's just Young, Hall, and Booker. Excuse me, guys. I read that wrong. Gant's a linebacker. So, not a lot of depth there, right? That's why coming in at number 4 is D-line. I would like them to bring in a defensive end in a 3-4 scheme behind Ajomo and Carter, right? Because if something happens to Carter, injuries happen in the NFL. We need some depth. And bringing in a nose maybe later in the draft process makes a ton of sense to me. A ton of sense. All right. Coming in at number 3 is tight end. Dallas Goedert. Getting to the end of his rope, right? He's 30 years old now. He'll be 31. That contract expires at the end of this year. He's an unrestricted free agent. And, unbelievable in 2021, but he has regressed since those peaks in 21 and 22. Starting to show his age a little bit. Those injuries are creeping in. Not the best run blocker, 57 overall grade, but the receiving grade is always there. Jalen Hurts relies on him. So we need to get a reliable tight end target that can catch the ball for Jalen Hurts, especially on third down. He loves looking towards Dallas Goedert. And whatever the play is, whether the X or the Y are the number one reads, the second read is usually the tight end, man. And he's always falling back on the tight end. So we need a reliable pass catcher there. I don't care if they can run block or not. Tyler Warren, I don't think will be there. Colston Loveland, maybe. I do like Ferguson from Oregon as well. And Mason Taylor, I think he's from LSU. Jason Taylor's son. Raw, young talent. Pretty solid guy, though, man. And there's some other guys, that are in the play for tight end, but they're kind of my favorite guys. So number 3, guys, on our list for the biggest needs for the Philadelphia Eagles coming up in April is tight end. What was it? 5, 6 tight ends. All their contracts expire after 2025. I expect the Philadelphia Eagles to draft one and then sign one of the undrafted free agents, probably, for sure. Add some depth to this room. We need another pass catcher. Faux show! Number 2 on my list. Number 2. Number 1 and number 2 are both pretty damn close. Number 2 is safety. C.J. Gardner-Johnson was traded to the Houston Texans. Reed Blankenship contract is coming up at an end. 3 years on the rookie deal. Comes up at the end of 2025, And he's regressed metrically every single season. Good player. Is he a great safety? I have reservations calling him great. Good player. But you need a really talented guy next to him to make him shine, in my opinion. Do they eventually move Cooper DeJean to safety at some point? That could be interesting as well. If they feel like one of these guys, like Ricks or Ringo, could actually play in the slot, right? That could make some sense. But we'll have to see. Safety is a big need. There's a couple of very, very good safeties, guys. If we take a look at the NFL draft, the big board, a lot of really good safeties in this draft class. Starks, Watts, Nick Emanwari, Kevin Winston, Ransom, and Makuba. They're all the guys I'm circling. They got to get one of these guys. Makuba, Ransom, Winston, Emanwari. A lot of people want us to go round 1. Nick Emanwari, 6'3", 220. The dude's a freaking monster, man. Absolute freaking monster. He's a monster. But I do love Nick Emanwari, Malachi Starks. Very, very talented guys. Sidney Brown, he's not that dude. He's just not that dude. He didn't really play a lot this year at all. And when he did play at the free safety spot, he didn't look great. I want a little more length out of my safeties. 5'10", 211. He's got good speed, not great speed. 3rd round selection in 2023 from Illinois. Good player. From what I'm reading, they're probably going to let him try to be a starter. We'll have to see. Kind of one of those situations where they draft a rookie high and then they compete and see where it all shakes out. So, number 2 on our list for the Philadelphia Eagles' biggest draft needs going into the 2025 draft is the safety position. Blankenship's definitely more of the free safety. The strong safety is a little bit better coming up, stopping the run, playing the run a little bit. If we take a look at the way Nichols set up in this 3-4 scheme, I don't know. Can you rely on Blankenship and Brown? We'll have to see. I want them to bring in the safety probably pretty early. And then, our biggest need, guys, and you know what it is already. Go back to our base format. It's edge defender. Outside linebacker. Nolan Smith was great last year. Jalen Hunt. Does he step in to be the starter? He's got the size, 6'4", 248. I really like his length, right? I do like myself some Jalen Hunt. Pretty decent against the run, you know what I mean? stands up really good against the pass as well. I would like to get a little more juice out of my pass rushers, but he's a great coverage guy, which is hard to find with these pin your ear back kind of pass rushers because they're not asked to do that a lot in college is cover. And in the NFL, these guys need to be able to cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield, right? You know, if you look at Nolan Smith, he was excellent against the run this year. Very, very freaking impressive, man. And pass rush grade, very good as well. And, you know, coverage grade, pretty damn decent. He looked great. Definitely looked great. I like Nolan Smith, right? But outside of those two guys, there's not a lot of depth at the edge defender, outside linebacker spot. They did bring in Azeez Ojulari from the Giants, former second-round pick out of Georgia. Loving the Bulldogs. But he hasn't been great. Can Fangio unlock him? We'll have to see. He's been pretty ass all 4 years so far. Still pretty young, though. Not even 25. With 4 years of NFL experience, that's pretty freaking crazy. You know? So, could Azeez Ojulari, sorry guys, I'm butchering that name. Could he be a factor in this defense? Maybe. Maybe. Patrick Johnson's here. Uche, they brought him in from Kansas City, right? He's shown flashes of excellence, right? Eagles taking some flyers on some, you know, former high picks, second-round pick out of Michigan, big-time school guy, Uche. You know, but another guy, complete ass in coverage. 29.5 grade. Dude! Maybe not the most athletic guy in the world, but he's pretty solid against the run. Sniffs out the run pretty good. Pretty good against the pass as well, you know. So, they got some guys, but if you want to win a Super Bowl, you need more than just some guys. You know, an injury to Nolan Smith, and then we're up shit's creek without a paddle, man. Then it's like what? Jalen Hunt and Ojulari, not great, right? So bringing in the edge early definitely makes some sense for the Philadelphia Eagles. So there it is, guys. My number one need for the Philadelphia Eagles going into this draft is outside linebacker, edge defender. And then another position that didn't make my list is off-ball linebacker, right? That's kind of a 6 or 7. You know, probably maybe a 5th-round pick. The Eagles got a shitload of 5th-round picks. You bring in a guy like Kobe King from Penn State or Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame, something like that. I like those players. But we got edge. We got safety. We got tight end. We got D-line, whether that's nose or right end or left end. And number 5 is cornerback, guys. There is our list. The top 5 needs for the Philadelphia Eagles. 3 weeks away, guys. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for tuning in to the J All Day NFL Show. I appreciate you guys. Peace.